Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Hello everyone, it's the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. I just wanted to come have another discussion today about why you haven't got a vasectomy yet. It's always a contentious issue to bring this up, and I always have to discuss it in a way that is new and for people to also not get bored with the conversation, but it's one that I'm going to keep having over and over again. I think it's important enough that we need to bring this issue to the forefront, because you've had a lot of discussions, especially on the internet. My God, it's exhausting. But especially on the internet, and it's all about the same thing, really. It's all about the economy and relationships, right? What men must do and what women mustn't do, and I think you're all full of shit. Ultimately, people are going to do whatever they want to do, right? But I'm here to talk about what bachelor men should do. And every bachelor, if you have decided to become a bachelor, you need to get a vasectomy. You need to get a vasectomy to protect yourself from these goddamn kids, right? You need to stop yourself from having kids, from breeding. I don't care what you call it, but this is the single biggest issue that I think you're going to face. As a bachelor, it is my biggest concern, even more than marriage, right? Because you can be unmarried and have kids and it'll destroy your life, of course. And you can be married and have kids and that'll destroy your life. And primarily, it's not because kids are bad people. I think kids are wonderful people. I have a few kids that are like myself, more than a few. But I don't want to have them. I don't want to raise them. And I think most men don't either. Well, some men do. Some men really do want to be the heads of households. And I guess we kind of have to respect their decision, right? You want to do that to yourself? Go ahead, do that to yourself. That's your own choice. But you must understand that you are doing it as a conscious decision of your own. And any consequences that befall you are of your own making, right? So we can't be in a situation where you now have kids and you need help raising your kids. That's absurd and that's completely unfair. I think it's an unfair situation that very often it's the taxpayers of people without kids that have to pay and help people with kids to raise them, particularly since we weren't there when you were making those kids, right? It always comes down to the moment for me where you're about to have sexual intimacy with this person and you completely lose control over yourself. And what do you do then? Right? You go right in and you do what you're always going to do. 9 months later, you have no more freedom. And you're not going to see freedom for 20, 21 years, 25 years, minimum 18. And I don't think it's worth it. Now, we live in a world where cultures are changing and we can have this discussion online in a meaningful way, but it's never going to go mainstream. It's bad for the economy. Kids are very expensive. And people who have kids, they spend outrageously and end up with zero savings. The corporations are going to take your entire life savings, and they're right to do so, because you shouldn't have had them kids. You can't afford them, and you're not equipped to raise them. And yet, here we are. So, it's not a punishment, it's just a consequence of an action. And you may have heard me say it once or twice. The only purpose of sexual intimacy is reproduction. So if you're having sex, it's because you want to have kids. And if you didn't want to have kids, you would use protection, contraception, or completely abstain. Or you could just get a vasectomy and be smart. The best thing you can do if you're a bachelor, you don't want to get married, and you don't want to have kids, is to get a vasectomy. If you may still want to have kids, you should freeze your sperm first. I've mentioned many times that I've got 1 billion sperm frozen. It gives me peace of mind, right? It's well, I wouldn't call it an investment because I don't ever plan to use them, but you know, it is something that I believe men can use in a moment of doubt to relieve that doubt. But once you have them and you realize that what you need in order to use them is a urologist and all those people, specialists, IVF, which is so expensive. IVF is so expensive. It's just not worth the effort in doing. Right? You get that vasectomy, it completely changes you and the way that you see life. You're relieved from having to make what I call the impossible calculation, which is trying to find one woman out of all the billions of people in this world. Something that you're absolutely going to get wrong. So, the best thing for you to do as a bachelor is to get that vasectomy. This is not just important as a practice, but it's important as a standard. You cannot be out there on yachts, on jet skis, hopping off of islands, and you got kids at home. That's ridiculous. You can't be going out, enjoying your life, having steak dinners, and you're pushing a pram around. No way. You're not going to be able to kill it day after day after day in the gym, and you got bills to pay. You got diapers to change. That's not going to happen, man. Just be realistic. You cannot have both a bachelor life and raise children. You cannot have both a bachelor life and be committed to somebody. It's unrealistic. And there are so many men that are living half and half, living half the bachelor life, but they got baby mama drama. They got half the bachelor life, but they got tuition to pay. They got lunches to pack, diapers to change, towels to fold. I'll never stop with the towels. It's ridiculous. You spend all day long folding goddamn towels. I understand why women are tired of this nonsense. I'd also be frustrated, But I find that it's most of them that want the relationship for the financial, economic benefit of being in a stable relationship with a positively successful man. It's very clear. They call you people high value, man. You can call yourself whatever the hell you want. I don't see it. I see yourself walking yourself into a tremendous expense, into a tremendous debt that is going to destroy you, your finances, your resources, your relationships in your life. And you need to be able to protect yourself by getting that vasectomy. It's just there's just no other way around it, right? The chances that you will meet the right woman is something like what you're hoping for 1 in 10 million chance, 10 billion chance, which is never going to happen. You're going to get that completely wrong. And then hope that of all the billions and billions and billions of sperm, that one of those is going to come out and be a complete genius. The chances are it's not going to happen. What you are probably going to do is have a child, raise that child, and that child's going to end up being a loser. 90% of the world is just in poverty, while only 1% of the world has 90% of the wealth. What does that tell you? 90% of us just not making it. We're just not making it into that top 10%. And you're not in that top 10, that top 5, that top 1%. And you're going to have kids, and your kids are going to be poorer and worse off than you. They're not going to make it. And you're going to raise kids in a situation under circumstances that makes you poor, and you're going to make them poor, and so on. There's a reason why you have not broken into generational wealth. It's because you're making the wrong decision. And the wrong decision is having kids and getting married. Economically, it has always been a bad decision, even at the beginning of time. Even during the times when they said, oh, people had to grow their own food, they had to live on farms, and you needed a large family to raise these kids, and blah, 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 blah. By the time those kids are old enough to start working on the farm, 10 years, 13 years later, only to find out they're not interested in farm work anyway. You spend so many resources trying to get them up to that age just for them to not want to do it. Just for the world to change around you, and they've got new, better opportunities that you couldn't anticipate. And now you've missed out your own opportunities. It's just a snowball domino effect into poverty. But men have a viable solution, and that solution is a vasectomy. It's available, it's there, it's legal, and it's right. It's not just right, it is good. Right? You do for the first time in your life have protected sex. You do have, when you have a vasectomy, you have for the first time in your life protected sex. You have sex with a woman knowing that you cannot possibly destroy her life, your life, and the child's life, because you cannot have kids. Right? The benefits of having a vasectomy at whatever age, you could, are tremendous. You could have a vasectomy as soon as you are legal, right? If you are old enough to drive a car, smoke cigarettes, vote for the president, join the army, go to war, and have kids, you can absolutely legally get a vasectomy. There's no reason why you can't do that, and there's no reason why you can't reap the benefits of that, of knowing that you can secure yourself economically for the next 20, 30, 40 years without risking the chance of getting the wrong woman pregnant and having the wrong child by the wrong person, destroying everything for yourself, right? Also, if you do decide to have the kids, you'll probably need IVF, and the benefits of that for the men are tremendous. You can actually choose the gender, height, size. You can choose the best sperm to create the best possible offspring, but that's a whole nother situation, and I'm not even qualified to discuss. I'm only telling you what was told to me by the professionals. But that being said, you should absolutely get a vasectomy. If you are legal and can afford it, and are sure you don't want to have kids, at least don't want to have kids the traditional way, you need to freeze your sperm and then get a vasectomy. Freeze your sperm and then get a vasectomy, right? And once you've had that vasectomy, I believe you'll be able to face the world confidently as a bachelor, right? No risks, no more chances, no funny business. And if anybody comes and says you're the father, you can absolutely tell them up front, you are not the father. Right? You can be sure you are not the father. Now, I wouldn't get a vasectomy and tell anyone, right? I wouldn't get a vasectomy and tell a soul. It's a private medical procedure. But it will allow you to see very clearly who you can trust and who you can't trust, and very quickly discern what the situation is. If somebody makes any kind of claims about paternity, you can end those immediately, at least for yourself, if you choose, right? And I know most of us would. So you absolutely don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're 10 or 12 years in and you find out that you are not the father. Now you have to play the world's most expensive game. Who's the daddy? You know? And by and if you've been playing the fatherly role and you've signed that birth certificate, well, you're in it until they're 18. Whether you like it or not, you are in it until they're 18. So, it's an absolute fail-safe way of protecting yourself, protecting your future, protecting your finances. It does work. It is reliable, but do it legally. Go see a professional. Pay that money. Make that appointment. Be early for the appointment. Goodness sake, respect the urologist's time, and and get the procedure. Pay the full amount. Pay for the room. Pay for the anesthesiologist, however you pronounce that word. Surely they could come up with an easier name for that profession. Pay for the nurse if you have to. You know what I mean? Pay for the extra medication. Pay for the extra painkillers. Pay, pay, pay. It's absolutely worth it, because eventually all that paying stops and you start getting the income and the benefits of it. And the benefits far outweigh the liabilities. And by liabilities, I mean children. Those children will ruin your life. I'm telling you now, children will ruin your life. They're expensive, they're unreliable, you can't trust them, they break all your stuff, you'll never have anything new again. They'll break your TV, they'll break whatever you buy for them, and then force you to keep replacing it. You'll spend millions raising them just for them to just decide that they're not going to want to follow any careers. You'll put a child into Ivy League school and they'll drop out just to decide that they want to be a rapper or they want to start a podcast. Not to mention, that they could just as easily become rappers and start a podcast after they graduate in a year or two, but they'll be impatient and young and ruin everything. Millions of investing in them, trying to raise them, food, clothes, shelter, all those fundamentals. They sound easy to say, but they're expensive to maintain. And you have no idea how those kids are going to come out. You don't even know if they'll even like you as a person, right? And this is it's touching, but you hear all the time kids saying how they disapprove of the way they were raised or their parents' efforts. And in truth, if you're gonna, bring a kid into this world just to join you in your misery and poverty, that's not fair. You deserve to suffer, not the kid. You can't be bringing kids into this world just to have them be poor, living in squalor, living in ghettos or wherever you live, right? When you should be trying to get yourself out, your priority should be to stop having sex immediately until you get your vasectomy, and then work on getting out of whatever situation you're in. There's no honor in living in poverty and squalor, and there's no honor in getting people to join you in your misery either. You need to get it right. And the first step that you need to do, the standard that needs to be maintained by every bachelor, is to get that vasectomy. Because if you don't have a vasectomy, you are not serious. You are not serious about being a bachelor, and you're not going to pull it off. I'm telling you right now, you keep having sex with that woman, you are going to get her pregnant. You are going to get her pregnant. You are going to get her pregnant. And when she's pregnant, she is going to ruin your life. Those kids are going to ruin your life. If you at some point have decided to be a bachelor, and that is the direction that you are heading, having children and a woman, or having a wife and any type of commitment, is a complete derailment. It is a complete failure of the bachelor life. And you need to guarantee success of your bachelorhood. Condoms are not a guarantee. The extraction method is not a guarantee, right? There's only one guarantee, which means there is only one standard, and that standard is to get a vasectomy. Anything below that standard is a risk. It is not safe. It is not safe for you to participate in any type of intimacy without a vasectomy. One mistake, it's over. And it is over forever. You only get one mistake. You only get to do it wrong one time. And that one time will devastate you. Even if you divorce, even if you leave her, you're still tied to those kids for eternity. You hear what I'm saying? For an eternity. If they become a failure in their 30s and their 40s, it's either they go back to the streets from whence they came, or they come back to you from whence they came. But they will return, and they will return worse and more dependent and worse and just devastating. Just devastating is the consequence of having children and failing to raise them well. I cannot emphasize this point enough. You need to get a vasectomy. Go ahead and get your vasectomy. Protect yourself from yourself. Protect yourself from your children. Protect yourself from the love of your life, right? Because those people are going to ruin your life. Protect yourself from those people, right? Let's do this calculation. Let's do this calculation together. Think of the multiple choice questions that you had at school, right? Think of how they would give you a question that you should have been prepared for. And not only that, they will give you one correct answer and three possible wrong ones. Some will be similar, but one will be completely wrong. You have a 20% chance, 20% chance of getting this right, and you still got it wrong. So if you believe that out of the billions and billions of people in this world, that you're going to choose the right one, I want you to know that you have a 10 billion to 1 chance of getting it wrong. That's like 10 billion%. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it's high. It's a tremendous high percentage that you're going to get it wrong. And most people do. So I'm telling you with absolute certainty, if you were wondering, are you going to get this wrong? Yes, you're going to get this wrong. You are going to mess this up, and it's going to destroy everything. Get a vasectomy. The stats are not on your side. The law is not on your side. The game of life is not on your side. God designed this in a way that you cannot overcome your biology. It is down to a cellular, molecular level. Your capacity, your commitment, your contract to humanity is your ability to create life. God entrenched that in you before you were even created. When you were born, your instinct was to make more of you, and you are going to do it. Inevitably, you are going to fulfill God's plan. And when you do, He will not be on your side. He will not pay one single bill. He will not be there to change one single diaper or buy not one drop of milk. You will be responsible for that sole endeavor. And you are going to regret, I say you are going to regret not getting that vasectomy. And especially now that you've heard this video and you've been told to go and do it. If you're waiting for a sign, this is your sign. Call, make that appointment, find out what you need to do, watch the YouTube videos, do your research, walk in there with some knowledge, some foundation of knowledge. Find out what is similar to your research and what is different. Where are the gaps of information, and fill those gaps. And one of those gaps has to be, how much does this cost? How much is the whole thing going to cost, with the esthetician, the nurse, the room, the bandages, the painkillers, whatever you need? Let them give you a full breakdown and you pay and get that vasectomy. It'll be the best money you've ever spent because it's going to be far less than any diapers. It's going to be far less than college fees. It's going to be far less than private schools, the uniforms and all of that. It's going to be far cheaper than the vacations. You're taking 3, 4 kids on vacation. Are you out of your mind? Are you insane? Do you know how much those plane tickets cost? Just to take the and the hotels and the hotel food. You know how much dinner at a hotel is? It is outrageous. And you're going to be paying it for 4 people? Come on. Come on. You don't want to be a father. You've decided to be a bachelor. That's why you're listening to this channel. And that's why you're taking this message in. And that's why it's hitting home for you. It doesn't matter how you think about it. You keep having sex with that woman, you're going to get her pregnant. And you're going to wish you had got a vasectomy. Because one kid is going to destroy you. The second kid, forget about it. You're not surviving it. You're not surviving 2 children, right? Not economically, not financially. You're definitely not going to survive 2 kids. And then after 2 kids, you won't be able to afford to get a vasectomy, right? I mean, if you got medical insurance, find out. I'm sure they'll cover it. You know, it's a perfectly legal medical procedure. There's no reason why they shouldn't cover it. If they can cover therapy, you know, we all know therapists don't care about your problems. But if they can cover therapy, they'll cover a vasectomy. Find out. I mean, there's no harm in asking. It's 1 phone call away. You know, it's better to get that vasectomy now, make that phone call, than to get the call saying that your kid drove his car over some train tracks with cocaine in his pocket. Or whatever the hell that stuff was. You know what I mean? You don't need these problems, man. And these kids, just think about your own life and your own rebellions. Do you really want to have children that are just like you? Do you really want to have children that are just like you? Think of all the things you used to do. All the things you've drank and ate. You don't need these problems. You don't need these problems. You don't need to be out there trying to bail out some teenager, some crazy-ass teenager. You don't need those problems. Stop. Stop having sex right now. Get yourself a vasectomy. Whatever you miss out on during the healing time, you can recover. You'll be back in the game in less than a month. You'll barely miss anything. Right? So get that vasectomy. Get it done. If you're looking for a sign, this is the sign. I'm going to keep repeating that message. I don't know how many examples I can give you. This is the Bachelor Supreme, the Ancient One. Have a nice day.